All right, welcome back. So the Eagles lose their third consecutive game. Here's how it ends, essentially. That's Drew Lock, MVP candidate, finding Smith for the touchdown right there.
What's his name?
I don't know how to say it, so I just choose not to. And then you see the final play, essentially the final play of the game. Jalen Hurts' second interception. So it's there's woes on both sides. Offensive concerns for a team that only scored 17 points, and the absence of A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and that running game. And then, of course, defensively, man-to-man coverage there for the game-losing touchdown as Seattle keeps their flickering playoff hopes alive. So let's go right now to the quarterback of the Eagles, Jalen Hurts, and hear what he has to say about what's going on in Philadelphia. Commitment. How do you define commitment? I'll give you that out of Webster's in just a second. But that's a problem.
It's concerning.
Like, it's one thing to say, listen, maybe we're coasting, we shouldn't. We know we're a playoff team. If we win out against the Giants and the Cardinals, we do win the division, so not that big a deal. But they're not saying that. Like, there's a part of me that would think they're selling wolf tickets anyway. If they said that, they're making excuses. Yep. But you can at least lean on that, saying, look, it's hard to get up for every regular season game when we know we're locked into the playoffs. We know if we win the last three, we're going to win the division anyway. But he didn't say that. And for a team coming off the Super Bowl loss that was 10-1 and was the class of the league, not just the conference, correct, for the quarterback who fought his ass off to play in that game, overcoming whatever illness, the flu that he had, and the want to play, which we all respect the hell out of Jalen Hurts for that, for him to come out and say, look, we've got a commitment problem. Yeah. That's a headline. Yeah. Because that guy doesn't talk like that all that much.
Yeah, big time. I think it's got to be something he's seeing inside the room, inside the locker room, inside those meeting rooms, on that practice field. They lost 3 straight now. So I think he's questioning the commitment of this football team. He's probably calling them out in a sense because he wants to see more. And I think there's probably some guys in the locker room that are kind of just chilling a little bit, waiting for the postseason, getting their bodies right, maybe not giving it all they got at this juncture of the season, which is tough. Everybody's hurt at this point. So it seems like he's calling the team out a little bit without necessarily saying anybody's names.
There's no thought process, Jacoby, in locker rooms. There's some guys that they refer to in locker rooms as good time Garys. And a good time Gary is when things are going great, you love having that guy around. But when things go a little bit south, that's the first guy you look at as a problem. Now, I don't know names. I don't follow the Eagles as closely as people in Philadelphia do. But, A.J. Brown seems like he might fit that type of, resume. But it's a problem when you lose 3 straight late in the year and your quarterback's going, we're not committed.
We're going to talk about all the concerning things that happened on the field throughout the next 2 hours. But that's very concerning sound from Jalen Hurts in particular because he is so sort of stoic. Yeah. And he is so poised and together. And after a loss like that, when he threw 2 bad picks and didn't get the offense moving, you would think there'd be a little bit more like pointing the finger at himself. But this to me tells me that there's something really bad going on in that locker room.
I think the key of what he's saying is that he leads with execution, right? He's like, we're not executing at a high, we're not executing. When you're not executing, that means you're not focused and you're not committed to what you guys are putting out there on the practice field, in the playbooks. Like, you guys aren't committed to executing the game plan that's being put before you. And I think that bleeds to losses or inconsistencies with the offense.
Yeah, the other crazy thing, like when you talk about Seattle this year in a vacuum, they're not the best defensive team in the world. Like, there's been a whole bunch of games where they've given up 30-plus points, right? Even the Dallas game 2 weeks ago, that they fought hard and, they covered the spread. But Dallas dropped a 30-something burger on them, right? Detroit dropped a 30 burger on them. Like, you can score on that defense. And when I see the Philadelphia Eagles, Jalen Hurts going 17-31 for $143 and 2 picks, I'm saying to myself, that's a problem because you can score against Seattle. And I thought he looked great running the ball early, and he ran for a whole bunch of yards. So that made me feel like you're going to get the best of Jalen Hurts.
And had 2 rushing touchdowns.
And you didn't, but he wasn't great. That offense wasn't great. And now I have to ask the question. What the hell's Nick Sirianni doing there by making Matt Patricia the defensive coordinator, not just for last night's game, but for the rest of the way? And he said there'll be no other changes to the coaching staff in that regard. But James Bradbury is not very good, all right? And Drew Lock comes on the field, less than 2 minutes to go, 92 yards away, and you can't score a field goal there. You need to score a touchdown, right? Now, he completed 5 passes on that drive. One of the passes was completed to a fan who ran out of bounds. Little 5-yard gain, but there was no tackle. He ran out of bounds, right? Mm-hmm. The other 4 plays, and why they're now referring to it as the bad Berry drive.
Who's saying that?
What happened in Seattle? That's what I'm saying. It's a big thing in Seattle.
They're
going with. They're very quick in this. They got T-shirts already, sweatshirts. The bad Berry drive, you see right there. It saved Seattle's season. Well, why are they calling it the Badberry Drive? Well, don't show it yet, please. Don't show it yet. I'm going to get to a big fat conclusion on this, all right? So, 2nd and 10 from their 8. A little pass to DK Metcalf for 18 yards. Mm-hmm. Who is guarding DK Metcalf?
I want to say Bradbury.
Yeah, that's correct. That's right. You're 1 for 1. Very good job.
Good job.
All right, 2nd and 5 from their own 31. DK Metcalf again. This was the play where could have been intercepted, kind of caught it on his hip.
Great catch.
And makes a great catch. It was a good call. He did make the catch. Who is guarding Metcalf on that play?
Is it Bradbury?
Yeah, that's right. Bradbury again. That's correct. That's right. All right, 3rd and 10 from their own 37. DK Metcalf again for 34 yards.
Another great catch.
Who is the cornerback guarding DK Metcalf?
I'm almost positive it was James Bradbury.
That's right, Bradbury. Yeah. So that just to update you now, that's 3 straight completions to DK Metcalf.
All first downs.
And they still leave James Bradbury on him, man-to-man coverage, okay?
Correct.
Then let's fast forward, 3rd and 10. From the Eagles' 29-yard line, okay? Mm-hmm. You've got man-to-man coverage. It's Smith Ngigba. And who's guarding him man-to-man?
James Bradbury.
I'm sorry?
I think it's Bradbury.
This is Matt Patricia's effort as defensive coordinator. He leaves James Bradbury on an island alone. And even Drew Lock, who sucks, came out and said, when I looked to my right, and I saw man-to-man coverage with Bradbury, I knew exactly where the rock was going. And that's a pitch and catch at that level, right?
Big time, especially the route that Smith and Jigba ran. You can see he got up on the toes of the corner of James Bradbury and got right around him, stacked him, and Drew threw it early because he knew exactly where to put the football. I think with James Bradbury is just, they're picking on you, dog. Like,
you think?
You have to raise your level of play at some point because you know they're coming at you. But on the flip side of that, Matt Patricia.
Got to help him out.
Why are you in single high man under a minute left and they need a touchdown?
It's 3rd and 10 from the 29 and they need a touchdown. Like, maybe a little safety help on the top. I mean, call me crazy.
Just a little.
Call me crazy.
And it is Drew Lock. You're not talking about Mahomes back there, and you want to give Mahomes credit, and that's why they're making shirts in Seattle, the Badberry Drive. And I'm looking at this, I'm going, he cost them a Super Bowl last year. You think you would have learned your lesson. You've got a new defensive coordinator in Matt Patricia, and there were 3 other plays on that drive in which who gets the ball? Whoever Badberry is guarding.
Yep.
So what do? They throw it to Metcalf, they throw it to Metcalf, they throw it to Metcalf. Then they switch. They put him on, I can't say his name. Njigba. They put him on Njigba.
Close enough.
So Drew Lock throws it to Njigba. Like it ain't that hard, right? And I'm saying to myself, that dumb rascal Nick Sirianni, he's the guy that thought Matt Patricia was going to do a better job than the other guy that they got rid of.
Sean Desai sitting right there like, oh, this is what you replaced me with? Is it replaced me with?
Yeah, now.
Here's a guess, maybe zone.
And then I asked the guys to delve deeper into the statistics. Easy for me to say. I just should have said anals. It's much easier. And they did. And here's the deal. On pass plays that targeted Badberry, Drew Lock had a perfect passer rating, was 5 for 5, and a touchdown. And he's going to the Hall of Fame. That's how. I got a note. He's actually, they're sending that ball to the Hall of Fame. But you have a real problem now in Philadelphia. Not only statistically has their defense been putrid, especially late in games, for the entire season, you've now got rumblings in the locker room. Now, I'm not sure how much you experienced that with the Giants in your career, because you guys had a lot of success, obviously, when you were there. But when a quarterback comes out and goes, there's a lack of commitment here. When guys start chirping a little bit, that's a problem. And let's be fair. When you lose 3 straight late in the year, and there's not a lot of time to figure things out, albeit against a very easy schedule, you're not winning a Super Bowl.
Yeah, you want to go into the postseason or at the end of the year, December football, playing the right brand of football, ascending and playing getting yourself together, understanding that the playoffs are on the horizon and starting to raise your level of play. And for the quarterback to be questioning the commitment levels, to be questioning the execution at this point in time, it should be, granted, they're barely practicing, right? It's probably all walkthroughs or maybe one practice here and there because you're trying to save bodies and make sure these guys are fresh for game day. So that means mentally you got to be locked in.
Right.
And I think that what Jalen Hurts is saying is that mentally the commitment levels, they aren't as locked.
I know exactly what's being said. If you're not Jalen Hurts in that locker room, you're like, oh, I'm not committed. You committed 2 terrible turnovers.
Yeah,
Sure.
That's what you committed. I'm not committed.
Exactly.
You're committing the
Yeah.
interceptions.
Correct.
I kind of want to forgive the last one. It's kind of a prayer, but you're right. It's he's been turning the ball over, the entire year, and you can't win games that way. And here's the other thing it did: by losing, you've now given San Francisco the breathing room where they can lose one of their last few games, and their schedule is much tougher than Philadelphia's. But because you're now a game back in the loss column, and San Francisco, of course, has the big game Monday night against Baltimore. I don't know if you guys can quickly get their schedule. It's harder than Philly's.
Yeah.
Now San Fran has the breathing room where we lose one game, we're fine
insignificant.
because we got the tiebreaker because we waxed your asses 3 weeks ago when we played you.
Yeah.
That's how important last night's game was. And I know in Philly, fans want to kind of minimize, not that big a deal. If we win out, we have the tiebreaker against the Cowboys for the division. We can be the number 2 seed and we'll be fine. It was a big loss last night, not just because you pretty much gave up the number 1 seed, but because it magnified all the problems we know they've had all year long. Hey there, thank you so much for watching The Carton Show. You can subscribe right here to get all the latest bits and segments from the show. And by the way, while you're at it, we have a lot of great shows on FS1, so check them out too.